or should I say, konnichiwa. My name is Shun Oyabu. I'm from IBM Japan, and I'm on an international assignment with Area 10 in Houston. My title in the United States is Manager, Japan-based Companies Marketing, and I'm here to help you work more effectively with Japanese business people. It's a pleasure to share with you my understanding of the Japanese business culture and how important it is for you to realize its impact on your business communications with Japanese corporations. In the next few minutes, you will see many similarities and differences between Japanese and American business people. So you know where I'm coming from. Let me tell you a few things about my background and Japan and Japanese people in general. First of all, my family and I are enjoying a wonderful life here in the United States. And for that, I say thank you. Some of the reasons we like it here so much are the lower cost of living. Housing alone for me is less than half of what it is in Japan. Meat and dairy products are also less than half the price I have to pay there. Much of the lower cost of living here is due to the greatly increased value of the yen against the dollar. For example, in March of 1983, the exchange rate was 235 yen to the dollar. As you can see, the value of the yen has more than doubled in 10 years. Another point is working hours. I now spend more time with my wife and daughters, like eating dinner with them most evenings. Americans are cheerful, frank, and broad-minded. My family also appreciates your English as a second language program. Now they can speak English better than I do. Let's look at the marketplace for Japan-based companies in the United States of America. Japan-based companies have approximately 6,000 locations in the United States. 2,000 of these are located in the Northeast, especially in the tri-state area. Another 2,000 are located in California, with a heavy concentration around Los Angeles. The remaining 2,000 are spread across the country. Here in the southwestern area, there are about 600 locations of Japan-based companies. These 6,000 locations have generated about $200 million of revenue for IBM every year. It is significant that IBM's market share is over 80% of the system's users. I think there are a couple of reasons for IBM's good showing. IBM is well accepted as an international company, and IBM has wisely invested in the Japanese assignee program since 1987. Getting to the heart of the subject now, I'll focus on these topics: Japanese geography, common factors between our cultures, general reactions of Japanese to Americans, and vice versa, and understanding the cultural differences. This information should give you a better understanding of the Japanese decision-making process and how to effectively collect customer information. Please remember, though, I'm not trying to convert you to the Japanese way of doing business. Let's talk a little bit about Japan and its geography. As you can see, it fits neatly inside the north and south borders of the United States. Although its land area is a little smaller than California, its population is half the population of the entire United States. Since our two countries are on about the same latitude, temperature ranges are similar. It is always easier to find the differences between our cultures, but very important to note the similarities. So let's look at some of them. We both enjoy a long life expectancy. Our economies thrive on high technology. We place a great deal of emphasis on excellence in education. Salaries are based on the merit system, and parents desire a better life for their children. Now, let's look at some of the differences between our cultures. A good way to begin is reviewing some frequently asked questions from Americans. Why is it so hard to get Japanese people to give personal opinion to take a firm position? Why don't Japanese net their presentations better? There are too many words, too many charts. Why don't Japanese ask for clarifications when they don't understand the point? Why are Japanese so slow in making decisions? Even after making a decision, their reasoning and who's responsible may not be clear. Why is there always so much rework, especially of written material? Why do Japanese apologize and express thanks so often? It's hard to know when they are sincere. On the other hand, Japanese businessmen frequently ask me, why do Americans talk so much? They seem to be afraid of silence. Why do Americans interrupt people? They even finish sentences for other people. Why don't Americans listen more closely? They are always so intent on getting their thoughts out that they fail to hear what is being said to them. Why are Americans so blunt in asking questions? It causes us discomfort and awkwardness. Why do American executives pay so much attention to individuals and not the group? It is embarrassing to the individual singled out and could hurt group morale. To try and answer these questions, let's look at some basic differences in our cultures. First, from the traditional perspective. First of all, our diet is based on rice. We have been eating rice for more than 2,000 years. As a matter of fact, rice was our major currency up until the turn of the century. Our population has been ethnic Japanese and closed for 250 years and never invaded. The United States, on the other hand, was built by immigrants, initially from Europe. Hunting was a major element of the early American culture, the conquering the nature. Hunters keeping moving as the game move. Since Japan has been a rice culture, a farming country, the people had to harmonize with nature. Rice takes 1 year to cultivate, from planting to harvest, so we must do it in a fixed location. This traditional Japanese culture has formed the basis of today's business culture. The farming heritage of Japanese people has developed into a philosophy of functioning as a group. That's why consensus is very important to Japanese businessmen in making a decision, and that's why it takes them a long time to make a decision. The Japanese have always been concerned with the long-range market share, whereas American incentive programs usually focus on the short-range profits. I hope this analysis helps you to understand what's behind those frequently asked questions we reviewed a few minutes ago. To help shed more light on our cultural differences, let's look at the practice of exchanging business cards at the initial meeting with Japanese business people. This is very significant. Here are my business cards in both Japanese and English. Since you are familiar with American style, let me explain the Japanese format. It's read vertically, from right to left. On a Japanese business card, your name is written in the center with large kanji characters, so it can be located quickly. It is very important because the kanji characters have absolutely no phonetic relationship to your name or its pronunciation. The persons receiving my card must see my name as they hear it so they can relate them. For example, the top character of my name really means big. The second character means bush. So one must remember that big bush on this card really means my name, Oyabu. Another thing, always have enough business cards ready at your first meeting. Your Japanese counterparts will use them as a reference during your meeting, so they'll be sure to address you properly. When receiving a business card, do so with your both hands. This is a polite way to show your respect for what the card represents. When you feel comfortable in the presence of your Japanese counterparts, add the word "san" to their last names. For example, with my name, it would be Oyabu-san. This is a friendly gesture and widely accepted in America. Another illustration of the differences between our two cultures is in the languages themselves. Although there are dramatic differences in structure and linguistics, both languages have two very similar words with the same literal definition: yes or hi, and no or ie. Where the culture comes into play is not in the literal definition of the words, but in their interpretation in different business situations. Let me give you some examples. Americans place a great value on the ability to give and receive clear-cut, straightforward answers as illustrated by the statement, "Give me a yes or no answer." The Japanese answer could easily be maybe yes or maybe no. Another example occurs when you are giving a presentation and watch for audience reaction to what you are saying. A nod from an American generally means, "I agree with what you are saying." A nod from a Japanese businessman may never mean, "I agree with you." More probably, the nod means, "I understand you," or much less, "I am listening to you." Now, let's compound the Japanese response of "hi" as "I am listening" with their cultural unwillingness to ask questions, and what do you have? Serious misunderstandings at the end of the presentation. Pretty confusing, isn't it? Well, let's add one more element of misunderstanding: the negative question. Like, "Don't you agree with me?" The Japanese response of "yes" means, "I don't agree with you." The American response of "yes" means, "I do agree with you." Bottom line says, be very careful on how you phrase questions, particularly when asking for a yes or no answer. Recognizing that all these communications problems exist, don't despair. There's a reasonable solution. First, do your best to make sure that your Japanese audience understands what you are saying. Then, use several means of making your point. Lots of information is not offensive. It's appreciated. What you are trying to do is take out all possibilities of confusion. Ask questions to follow up your points. A simple strategy to follow when presenting to a Japanese audience is to avoid negative statements or questions. Don't ask questions that require a definite yes or no answer. In this way, you allow your Japanese audience to retain their cultural dignity. We've covered geography, culture, and language. Well, there you have a thumbnail sketch of Japanese culture and the ABCs of doing business with Japanese companies. The more opportunity you have to interact with Japanese executives, the more you will be able to fine-tune your meeting skills. Just remember this motto: the customer is always right. If you ever think the customer is wrong, go back to number 1. Be polite, be respectful, be patient, and most of all, you must gain the confidence of your Japanese customer before he will do business with you. Thus, by establishing good relations with a Japanese company, business will follow, and usually you will have a good customer for a long time. Thank you for spending this time with me. I hope it will be helpful to you. Let me leave you with a few Japanese quotations that express Japanese philosophy.